So it's great. The cowl is the original cowl. You could tell by the patina on the bottom side of it, the rust. There was no heat ring. I'm really happy that the cowl matches. Okay, so I want to take a look at the numbers in the upper tie bar or the core support. So the radiator support is the part of the car at the front that actually holds the radiator. Now these numbers were stamped in like this. So they read left to right, but they're upside down. I'm just gonna wedge this in there so I can actually get that radiator away from it. It might be really hard for everybody to see it, but it is the last 8 digits. It's Bravo 0178673. They're stamped in nicely. It's got the right amount of dent into it as a result of the number stamping, so that's perfect. So it turns out that our core support, not only is the numbers matching original core support that matches vehicle identification number of the car, but it started life on there. While I'm here, I'll just look and make sure that that radiator support hasn't changed from one car to another. So I'm gonna look at spot welds. And this is beautiful. Then the beautiful thing is, this baffle is spot welded to this inner fender. I look down there and I see the factory spot welds. This is not gonna show up well on camera, but come on over here and I'll show you at least one. I'll show you at least one. It's great when you look around and you can see that the spot welds that hold the upper radiator support and lower radiator support to the frame rail and to the inner fenders are all original unmolested spot welds. Our unit will duplicate a spot weld, but we don't have the exact same size. So you really gotta be worth your salt to know the difference between our spot welds and the factory. But that's what they pay me for. So I believe that this apron started life on this car with this radiator support and that upper cowl panel. So everything from this windshield forward started life on this car. And that's a good thing. We can't look at that yet till we get the car up in the air, but there is a pad on the top of these 440s that you can look at that have some alphanumeric codes on them that at least clue you if you're in the right area. I'll explain in a minute once I look. So what I want to do now is go on the underside of it. I've already validated that the cowl and the core support numbers match the vehicle identification number and they started life on that car. Those are good things, but there are other markers, DNA markers if you will, that will validate if that car's a real at least 440 car. And I'll explain more of that once I actually get underneath there. So we're gonna start up here at the very front corner. So this right here is the piece of steel that makes up the torque box or the subframe connector. It is in place where it should be. It ties together the rocker, the cowl panel extension, and the frame rail itself. Here I'm looking at the weld. See that sporadic weld right there, but there's nothing in there? Weld, weld, weld. But when I look at it, it looks like every one I've ever worked on. They're kind of crappy welds, they're not consistent. I've come up to these and I've seen a solid bead of weld around it, all pretty. That's not right. This is right. So let's take a look at the back. These are the rear subframe connectors. In this case, all the factory stitching is in place. Terrible welds, bulky, hit and miss. Very, very factory. The other thing you see on this side and on the other side is a leaf spring hanger reinforcement. That went with all 440 cars. So if you had this,
Mark, you're wrong.
You also had these. It supported the front of the hanger to be able to handle the extra torque that would be going through the drivetrain into the rear end and twisting things around. The last one to check, right over here, I expect nothing except the same. No replacement, these are factory torque boxes. Now just one last quick note is if you were working on a 70 or 71 Cuda or Challenger 426 Hemi car, if you had the Hemi option, you would also have a reinforcement plate that welded right here where the pinion snubber goes up and impacts. This doesn't have it because it's just a 440 and they didn't think it was required. But if it was a Hemi, you would have that plate right there. It's not there, that's good, it shouldn't be there.